Welcome. Today, I have to possibly make one of the most complex videos ever, because I got an endgame. But before we can make that video, obviously I have to take it out of the box, which I clearly already did, but you're gonna now look into the past when I'm taking it out of the box. Let's jump right into it. Why the title? Why am I saying that this is the microwave for guitar players? I mean, look at it. It's pretty, but microwaves aren't pretty. Here's why. The microwave came on the market and was kind of cool. And what now? Everyone has one. It's just the thing that nobody even thinks about. I'm going to say 95% of the population have a microwave in their kitchen, in their office, in anywhere. It just became this thing everybody has in their house. Get it? This will be the thing that everybody's going to have on their board or in their studio or anywhere, because it's just the tool that solves so many problems and also makes your pizza warm. No, it doesn't. So, I have no script for this video. It will be very complicated. We will talk about features. And there are a myriad of them. That is a word. It's called the Endgame Duality Calibrator. That's just a stupid, cool word that doesn't tell you anything. Endgame does. It is at the end of your chain. Whether it is on your studio desk, where you don't need it that much, but maybe a little bit. I can absolutely see using this in the studio to go DI or add ambience or just add things to products that you have, but they don't have those things. It's a thing adder. That could also be the thing adder. No, I think Endgame is better. What do I know about marketing? But at the end of your pedal board, so usually we think this is at the end of our pedal board, right? If we have a direct pedal board. We're talking 99% direct here. So we think this is at the end of your pedal board, right? Could be. We think this is at the end of our pedal board. It wouldn't be because it doesn't have XLR out. So you actually need a DI box at the end of your pedal board. We think this is at the end of your pedal board. Well, again, no XLR out. So you need something else. With the Endgame at the end of your pedal board, anything that whatever products you're already using don't have, now you do. Which is why everyone's going to use this thing. Let me explain. You have a cool preamp, but it doesn't have IRs. It doesn't have a speaker simulation. The Endgame does. Right here. Right here, we got a V30 greenback, a creamback, pre-programmed. We have 2 user slots, which you can put any IRs in that you want. And we have off in case you already have them. here's the kicker. Almost everything on this is in stereo. Everything. Stereo IRs. There's literally folders for left and right. You could have a different IR on the left than on the right. That's redonkulous. So full stereo, except, and that's why I said almost, the input. The input is mono. There's another input to go around that, which is the return. But the input is mono, which this output's mono, okay? This could be stereo, but really mono makes sense. This is mono. Most of your stuff is mono. And then the effects will make things stereo, which it will. I tried thinking of situations where only having a mono input is an issue. I could think of one single one, which is the HX Stomp, which I would want stereo going into it. And then I put it in the effects loop, fully stereo, and it worked. So, yeah, the effects loop can actually be switched around. So it doesn't, I can't think of any reason why the mono input is an issue. I still want to bitch about it, but that's not really fair because I can't think of actually a real world situation where that's an issue. So, IRs. Add IRs to your non-IR or cab effects. Or, for example, this doesn't load IRs. So turn the speaker off, run the IR in here. Or don't. Turn the speaker on and go to off. That's how simple that is. So it's an IR loader in stereo. Shows up as a, when you hook it up with USB, just shows up as a drive and you drop your IRs into it. I will show you that. And again, you can put left and right IR in there. How about stereo IRs? No. I talked to the team about it, and there might be later down the line an option of just dropping the same IR in both folders and it's picking the left and the right channel, whatever. But that can happen. They gotta be 48K. Just to let you know, it doesn't read anything other than that. Yet again, in the future, there might be updates for that. There's a through. So just go in here, go to where the fuck ever, go through with your signal without any of the processing in here and go into your amp or wherever you want to go. So you can grab the signal and just have this in the chain and then still do with the signal whatever you want. There is a input gain here, which can be relevant because levels are a little bit tricky. We're going to talk about that. So input gain coming from your pedal. There isn't a master on it. So you kind of have to juggle input versus blah, you know, a little bit juggling is needed. So input gain is right here coming from a pedal with a mid detent, which is nice. Underneath, we got power amp mode. So if you're running a pedal like a preamp, but you don't have a power amp, the power amp adds a little bit of oomph, a little bit of maybe thickness, saturation, not drive necessarily, but this also can simulate a power amp. By clicking this, the light on top will change different colors, give you little power amp flavors. Why isn't the knob on top, which would be so much easier, because once you've got all the cables connected, reaching to the side is a little bit of a pain in the ass, but you're not going to switch this around. It's going to be your preset setting. And just look at it. Look at how many things are connected to this tiny little box. There simply just was no space for any wishes your eye might have had. So that little light on top shows you the power amp setting. Furthermore, we'll stick here, stereo effects loop, which can also function as a stereo input. All you got to do is click this and have the effects loop on, otherwise that input isn't enabled. Okay, stereo effects loop, meaning you take your Ultra Tab from Eventide, which I'm going to show you, or your H90, or your H9 Max, or this thing as effects, or your HX Stomp in full stereo because it's got ping pong delay, blah, blah, blah. Anything you want in stereo. I'm going to show you this with the ventilator, the best rotary simulator on the market. We're going to hear all of this full stereo, and you're just going to click whether that is on or off. And they were clever. Right here, these two switches, they can show you stereo effects loop position. So is the effects loop pre or post, before or after, the IRs and the cabinet simulation? And is it pre or post the double tracker? Because the other part of the pedal, this and this and this, is the double tracker. Before we go on, mono input, but it's got a through level. It's got a power amp simulation if you need that. Stereo effects loop, switchable. It's got an IR loader or it doesn't, depending on whatever you want. We're going to show you all of that. And all the IRs are stereo. You can pick where your effects loop is before the IRs or after the IRs, depending on what you've got in the effect. There is a little knob called ambience. Now, this is not a reverb, but it is a reverb. It is not a super tweakable reverb, but it is a reverb. It is the room that you want for your IRs, to move your cab into a realistic room. It's not supposed to be a cavern and shit like this. It's supposed to give you the ambience that you need for a cab. For example, this IRD sounds ridiculously good with the built-in IRs, but it doesn't move air in the room because it doesn't have that built in. It's an oversight of the IRD. Not anymore, because the Endgame has it. Dial this in to your liking. For the internal ones or external ones, it's a reverb, but it isn't, it's ambience. Then we got a double tracker. So in a studio, I'd say don't do it unless you really want to get quickly to the point. But because it's stereo, you can get the effect of a double track guitar. It is not just delaying the guitar, it is delaying the guitar, it is doing a tiny bit of pitch, it is doing a tiny bit of randomness for the delays, and all these little inconsistencies that you would do in a double tracked signal. Personally, I feel it should be you should have access to the parameter of how far it is delayed, because I feel sometimes it is delayed just a tiny bit too much when you're playing fast parts. When you're playing big open parts, holy crap. But again, that's my personal opinion. It does the job. And you can have it all mono in the middle where it's really more chorusy. You can spread it a bit, and you can spread it all the way left and right in full stereo goodness, and then you get the full effect of the double-tracked signal. If you are the single guitar player in a three-piece band, that is the shit, because that's what you want for your live gig. And you don't have to buy a TC Mimic or other products for it. This is built in, you can turn it on and off, and you can switch whether or not it is before or after the effects loop. For example, this has a mono input and a stereo output. So I hooked it up with send mono but return stereo. Now, having the true double tracking in full stereo pre-effect but the effect has a mono input, I didn't get that effect at all. I turned it on and off and there was no difference because, of course, I'm doing it in full stereo and it's only being sent out in mono. So I was like, oh, that doesn't work. Of course it works. All you got to do is flip it over and all of a sudden you've got it in full stereo because it is post effect. So you got that. Use it or don't use it. None of the pedals I have on the table right here, none of the situations that I'm going to show you has built-in double tracking. Now you added that to the end of your chain. Before we go to the outputs, can you tell why this is difficult? We're going to talk about inputs. We're going to talk about aux in and Bluetooth pair. Again, USB-C at the moment is probably also for firmware updates, but at the moment you do, there's no software or anything, which is great because it's all just on the pedal. This is where you hook it up and load your ass. Look how beautifully this is affixed to the chassis. It also tells you that the included IRs are by Celestion, that's a trusted brand, and then something about processing. So you can plug in a mini plug right there, and that is your phone, your MP3 player, your, I don't know, turntable. Whatever you want to play through this gets mixed in and then comes out of the outputs and headphones and everything. Or Bluetooth. And all I had to do is push this button, hold it on my phone, and said, oh, there it is, bam, I was done. And I could jam with elevated jam tracks through this pedal. How awesome is that? Now, there is a knob on it called aux mix. And you have that in the middle position. There is an indent again. And that means you've got 50-50 guitar and backing track, or aux, whatever that is. Now, I fought with that a little bit, because usually this is a mix. So you're mixing in aux and your guitar stays the same. But that isn't what's happening. It is a blend. So meaning, in the middle, it's 50-50. You go a little bit to the left, your guitar gets louder, the backing track gets quieter. You go a little bit to the right, your guitar gets quieter than it actually is, and the backing track gets louder. So it is a bit fiddly. And really finding the sweet spot so that I could hear the guitar at the right volume and the backing track at the right volume required me to do very tiny adjustments. I would have probably preferred for that just to be a volume for the backing track, but I'm 100% convinced that the team did different tests and different ways of doing this and found that this is the most reliable and flexible thing to do. Just so you know, it is a balance knob between the two, and in the middle, it's 50-50 balance. And being able to have this at the end of your chain and have Bluetooth audio streaming to it is fucking brilliant. Because none of the boxes on the table here allow you to do that. And if you want a kick-ass jamming practice whatever setup with the ToneX, for example, bam, got it. With the SES1, got it. The Lion doesn't have Bluetooth audio or fucking headphones. Now it does. You get it? It's all there. This has headphone out somewhere. Where is it? Oh, here. And it's got MIDI and it's got stereo. It even has a loop, stereo loop. It's got everything. Doesn't have Bluetooth audio. Now it does. Get it? I can't think of many situations where this wouldn't be cool. Outputs. It's a ridiculous video. This is why they hired me. Headphone out with a level knob. A tiny little knob, but I mean, it works. But do you see something? A dual. Two. Which is double stereo, which is 4, mathematically speaking. Yeah, you want to jam with someone and write songs? You can. You know, just play with a buddy in your bedroom and not disturb anyone. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, pick a second pair of headphones. Bam. For a trade show, for the demonstrator from the brand and the guy playing it to hear the same signal. Bam. I mean, dual headphone out. Mini jack 3 point something. Come the fuck on. Awesome. That is just... Who has that? None. One. None. None. Just a preamp pedal, obviously, but I mean, now 2. Get it? 3. Combine them. Awesome. XL out with an extra level. That level only is for XLR, not for the headphones or the 1/4 inch. Meaning, XL out. This is a DI box of high quality. It's also a shit ton more. XL out. Individual level control. You might want to use that. TRS out. Yeah, it is still balanced, but it is 1/4 inch. Run them at the same time for different uses. Run this to the front of house. Run this to, what do I know, a recorder. To record at the same time. Plug it into a Zoom H6 Essential, now recording in 32-bit. Product placement. Yeah, do that and just, you know, capture your stereo guitar live on stage to later do a live mix. Ground lift, of course, on the XLR. Let's talk about routing options for a second. Completely forgot. They are internal, I don't want to open it, internal switchies, little dip switches, little mouse piano. So one of them allows you to disable the aux and Bluetooth inputs from the main XLR or TRS outputs. Perfect for in-ear monitoring use. Very simple. The Bluetooth and aux only comes out of the headphones, but doesn't go to front of house. Why would that be great? You can put a click in your headphones, but not to the audience. Freaking brilliantly thought about. And there's another one that disables ambience, IR cap, and power amp simulations from the TS-TRS outputs. So these right here can be run without the IR, power amp, or ambience. Why would you do that? So you could go to an amp, normal amp, even 2 of them, with the stereo doubler and all that, but then do a DI signal with ambience and cap simulation on the XLR and still go to 2 amps on stage and monitor with the amps. And then, of course, you don't want ambience, cap simulation, and power amp because you're going to a real amp. So this can be switched inside and would be your, this is how my setup goes. There's not a lot that they didn't think about. Dual headphone out, XLR with a level, TRS out. We have a mono in and a through. The through still can go to your amp. We have a stereo effect, so we got a double tracker. We got IRs or not. We got ambience, we got the effects loop switchable, we got the double tracker switchable, we have Bluetooth input, we have mini 3.5 input, we have IRs that you can change, full stereo by the way, and all of it powered with 9 volt, I think it's 450 milliamps. I think by now you've probably seen clips, I completely forgot to pause for these, where I demonstrate a lot of this with the Friedman IRD and the Ultra Trap from Eventide in the stereo effects loop. I'm going to show you a couple of setups. It is literally it is literally impossible to show you every possible thing this thing can do. Even an amp with a DI out. For example, like the Soldano Astro 20 right there, which has an XLR out. And it has IRs built in. Can benefit from that. How? Well, put this behind the Astro 20, maybe use the built-in IRs or use these IRs. Up to you. But it gives the Astro 20 a DI stereo effects loop. It gives the Astro 20 double tracking. It gives the Astro 20 headphone out. It gives the Astro 20 Bluetooth audio. It gives the Astro 20 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 outputs. I mean, kind of. You get what I'm trying to say. Expand the Astro 20 with stereo effects. So even your DI-equipped amps. No, actually an amp just with a DI out. Go in here, IR loader, bam, you don't even need an amp with XLR out. Oh my God. So there are a billion different setups, and we're going to run, I think, 5, in addition to the one that you've just seen. So you want to run your ToneX with stereo effects. Technically, you could run this stereo out on the ToneX with an adapter into, let's say, an Eventide H90, and you have stereo effects. This already has the cab built in. And you could switch the H90 on and off. Still not going to give you XLR. Still not going to give you headphone out. Ease of use, all that. So, ToneX with my profiles in it. Into this beast. Bam. Input. Eventide H90. I'm going to show you a couple of different things with doubling, blah, 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 and what that setup will sound like. So there's something to get if you already have a ToneX. Fuck yeah! Next one. one of those UA pedals, the Woodrow, not the line, the Woodrow, which is a tweet, running into this in mono. And on the Woodrow, I can have the cap simulation on. I will also turn it off, and then for a second you hear it being really horrible, and then I turn this on. So you can pick either the built-in UA caps, or if you want to use your own IR, do this. Or sometimes in the studio, use these, or not, turn it off, turn the Woodrow on. And then in the effects loop, we got the Neo Instruments ventilator too, which is an absolutely mind-blowing Leslie simulator. And depending on where you put the double tracker with the Leslie simulator, it actually makes a difference if it's before or after, and you're going to hear that. And we're going out with XLR on this. So let's check that out. So honestly, there aren't many reasons to use an HX Stomp with this, except, I mean, it already has an effects loop, but honestly, and you could switch that on and off here, but it's kind of convenient if I want, let's say, the H90, which is considerably better than the built-in effects, in the stereo effects loop. So I put the H90 in here, to, an amp in here. I could still turn it on and off a delay in here, but the thing is, where are the XLR outs? I mean, this is very like, it is balanced. So it is TRS. You could use adapters. But the thing is, using this doesn't hurt it. Easy loading and switching of IRs, ambience. Can't play Bluetooth audio through this. So, I mean, wait, it has an aux input. Yeah, but not if you use it as an effects return, then it doesn't work. So you're losing that as an aux input. So Bluetooth audio and jam. Headphones, bam, done. There is still a reason when you have something pretty fully featured like this to use something like this. Super simple setup. You align. Does all the plexis you ever want. Doesn't have Bluetooth audio, can't jam with it, doesn't even have a headphone out. Yes, you could use an insert cable right here on the outputs and use headphones, but that's not a great solution. Definitely can't jam with any tracks. This into this. Now the question is, this is stereo. How much stereo does it actually create? Are the cab sims and the room sim stereo? Could be, the amp is in stereo. So maybe there's stereo, but we don't have proof on that. But to be fully sure I'm using it correctly, I'm not going into the input, I'm actually going into the return. Meaning that effects loop has to be on, but I could still run through the built-in IRs because I can switch the effects loop to be behind or before the IRs. So you're going to hear this with the built-in cabs. Then you're going to hear this with the stereo IR in here, and also the double tracker and the ambience in here, and we're going to get some sounds. So you have a line, you might want an endgame. So what if you have a pedal that calls itself a preamp pedal, like a G3, G2, G4, any G, or a billion others that are kind of like amp in a boxes? Does it work? I would dare to say it does, because this has power amp simulation and IRs. So, bam, Bob's your uncle. What if you don't want the IRs? What if you want the aux stomp in full stereo glory? Then we're going to take the aux stomp, put it fully stereo into the effects loop. We're going to switch the dual IR cabinet simulation to post. It doesn't matter. In this case, it actually really doesn't matter. Effects loop. So you could use the built-in IRs with this, or switch it off, hit this puppy, and then you're getting the UA cabs and the UA stereo effects and compression and reverb and all that. All of that, still being able to play Bluetooth audio, still being able to run XLR out and have headphones, because this stupid thing doesn't have headphones or Bluetooth audio. You're getting the point. So let's check that out. So by now, you should be having a billion ideas of how you can use the Endgame. Now you know why that is a freaking microwave, because this will be on every board. It should be. I see no reason why it shouldn't be just built in to every pedal board out there. Even if you're not going DI, you just go through and go into your amp. But then your amp goes up in smoke, power amp simulation on, bam, bam, ding, bitch, front of house, done, day is saved. There is nothing, absolutely nothing on the market like this. It is a mixer, it is a aux mixie, it's a DI box, and a good DI box is going to run you $200, $250. But it's a DI box with a through, and it also is an IR loader. Even if you have a 2-notes cab M. Stereo! It's stereo. There is an add ambient. I mean, double tracker. Whatever reason you can give me why you don't need this, I can probably give you 3 reasons that you're not thinking of right now why you need this. Yes, they paid me for this video, because wrapping my head around all these features is a lot. And I made the video. This is what I do. This is why I get paid. Am I enthusiastic about this because I got paid? No, I'm enthusiastic about that because smart people put in a lot of thoughts about this. I do wish it had a stereo input, but I cannot tell you why I wish that, because I didn't run into any situation where it didn't do what it needed to do. The one thing I noticed, and not a negative, but just personal preference, in generally using the power amp simulation and the IRs that come with it, the stock IRs, the 3, which are what you need, the V30, the greenback, and the creamback, it's a bit dark. So I kind of wanted to grab some kind of treble boost or some kind of EQ to make the sound a bit brighter. It was a bit thick and a bit on the darker side compared to, let's say, the IRs and the Friedman or whatever. There's a very simple solution for that. Go to user A or user B and use the ones that you like, period. Or, also an option, grab a form of EQ, like this. Working in a video for that, or any kind of EQ, and push up the brightness a bit. So that's the only thing. It felt a bit here-ish and not enough here-ish. But again, everything's ultra tweakable. Levels, input level, output level, and then the mix. You are kind of trying to find the right balance. Maybe like a master volume. No, but that is the master volume. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I was trying to juggle the levels a bit, juggling the level here, but then the input, and then I was too hot, so take this down a bit, but then I want more input, so I went to my mixer and added more. You have to understand that there's several parts in the chain where level comes into play, and you just need to know which ones you have to address. But that is the same with anything, with any mixer. Is it the fader? Is it my input gain? Is it my master? You get this, because that's what it is. It's a mixer, it's an IR loader, it's a double tracker, it's a headphone amp, it's a Bluetooth player, it's a power amp simulator, it's freaking everything. And if you're not getting one, then you don't like microwaves. Then you're not getting with the times. I think this is a $350 to $400. And it is the kind of investment you should be doing if you're doing any kind of live, or even taking boxes into your DAW, because it's going to make it simpler. If you have any kind of stereo effects, why the fuck wouldn't you get this? Because you can just put them together and all of a sudden you got the wididity. If you want wididity, that's it. This is why it's called the duality calibrator. What a stupid, stupid thing to say. But I love that there's the Yggdrasil on there, the North tree of combining all the realms, and then there's also religious snakes, but there's 2 snakes because it's 2 snakes, 2 apples, 2 Adams, 2 Eves. There's something, they told me about it. I didn't pay any attention because I was like, this is a cool pedal. KMA people, I hope I did the service that you hoped this video would bring. Thank you for the job. Thank you for making this, because it shows that you guys are smart people. People that want to buy this, I hope this video taught you something. Links below. Please use them. They absolutely help. And what's this thing that we do? Animals at the end.